Picture this. You walk into your neighborhood grocery store just like you have 100 times before. But something's different. Shelves that were always packed with the basics, oil, canned veggies, coffee, are half empty or totally wiped out. And it's not just your store. By the time May 2025 rolls around, people across the country are going to be staring at empty spaces where 10 everyday grocery items used to be. This isn't just internet hype or some wild theory from the prepper crowd. Right now, nearly 70% of America's top food suppliers are sounding the alarm about critical shortages. And for the record, these aren't luxury foods. These are the items we all grab every week, the ones that keep dinner on the table and routines running smoothly. Over the past month, I've been digging through food distributor reports, talking to regional managers, and following agricultural updates. And what I found genuinely shocked me. This isn't just a small hiccup like we've seen before. This is shaping up to be a supply chain crisis that hits the basics first. Olive oil, grains, dairy, coffee, frozen foods, even canned goods. Every single one is under threat, and the warning signs are multiplying fast. Some prices are already double what they were just a year ago, and it's not slowing down. I've even heard from grocery store insiders who say their shelves will start going bare weeks before May, and no one's guaranteeing when or if those supplies will return. Here's the thing. Most people will wait until the news cameras show the chaos. By then, it's too late. If you want your family to stay ahead of these shortages, it pays to be proactive. I'm not talking about panic buying or fighting over the last bag of flour. I mean taking a few smart, steady steps now to avoid the stress later. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down exactly which 10 grocery items are about to disappear, why it's happening, and, most importantly, what you can do to get ready without blowing your budget. Stay tuned, because some of the biggest risks are hiding in plain sight, and you might be surprised by what's about to go missing first. If olive oil is a staple in your kitchen, what's coming might just make you rethink every recipe. Let's talk about why olive oil is about to turn into a luxury item for a whole lot of American families. Right now, the world's top producers, Spain, Italy, and Greece, are all getting hammered by the worst drought they've seen in decades. Crops are failing left and right, and the numbers are brutal. In some regions, yields are down by over half. Even olive trees that have been around for generations are dying off from the heat. And when you zoom out, the global market is scrambling to fill the gap. But there's no quick fix when the weather refuses to cooperate. The result? If you've noticed those prices creeping up on the shelf, you're not imagining it. A bottle that cost $15 last year is pushing $25 today. And a few months from now, it could easily hit $40, if you can even find it. I've already heard stories of folks going to 3 or 4 different stores and still coming up empty-handed. It's not just the fancy extra virgin stuff either. Manufacturers are already shifting what little supply they have toward their high-end, high-profit lines, which means the everyday affordable bottles most of us use are vanishing first. And here's a problem most shoppers aren't thinking about. With prices skyrocketing, olive oil fraud is making a big comeback. Sometimes what you're actually getting in those imported bottles is a watered-down blend of cheaper vegetable oils, or even food coloring to make it look right. Industry experts are quietly warning that by this spring, up to 1 in 3 bottles labeled extra virgin could be fake. If you want to avoid getting ripped off, get to know the signs. Real extra virgin olive oil usually has a bit of a peppery bite at the back of your throat. If it tastes flat and buttery with no kick, be suspicious. So, what should you do if you rely on olive oil for cooking, dressings, or meal prep? You don't have to clear out the store, but buying an extra bottle or 2 right now is just smart. But don't stop there. This is the perfect moment to explore alternatives. Avocado oil is a great choice. It's got a high smoke point, it's good for your heart, and it's produced here in the States, so it's less at risk from international shortages. Grapeseed oil is another solid pick for sautéing and stir-frying, and pumpkin seed or walnut oil can make your salad dressing stand out in a good way. Just a couple of months ago, I tried a walnut oil vinaigrette that honestly made me forget about olive oil for a minute. One more tip. Smaller grocery stores that source from local distributors might have a hidden stash when the big chains run out. But don't expect prices to stay low for long. the California avocado industry is ramping up to try to fill some of this demand, but even they can't replace what Europe isn't producing. If you're interested in learning more, check for local specialty shops. Sometimes they've got better stock, even when everyone else is wiped out. Don't forget to keep an eye out for rationing too. Major chains have already started limiting how many bottles you can buy at once, and there's talk that some restaurant suppliers are quietly stockpiling. If you've ever thought about taking a cooking class that highlights olive oil, now's the time, because soon this kitchen staple might be as rare as caviar. Be ready to switch things up in your recipes, try new flavors, and protect yourself from fakes, because the olive oil you know may be out of reach for a while. Now, let's talk about something that's probably part of your daily ritual: coffee. Imagine it's the first week of May. You're half awake, stumbling toward the kitchen, only to realize your favorite blend has vanished. Not just at your house, but at every store in town. It sounds dramatic, but that's the reality millions could face this spring. Behind the scenes, the world's two biggest coffee producers, Brazil and Vietnam, are both being hammered by extreme weather. Brazil's dealing with historic drought, while Vietnam is getting hit with heat waves and unpredictable rainfall. That means the very beans that fuel your morning are in short supply everywhere. Here's where it gets even trickier. These problems aren't short-term. Coffee crops take years to bounce back, and with climate patterns shifting so wildly, even the experts are saying this could stretch on far longer than anyone wants to admit. In Brazil alone, Arabica yields are down over 10%, which may not sound like much until you realize Brazil grows a third of the world's supply. Meanwhile, Vietnam's Robusta beans, the stuff behind your espresso and instant coffee, are getting hit even harder. That means shortages on everything from regular drip coffee to those specialty, single-origin bags that have become so popular. It's not just the weather either. Companies are starting to ration supply. Big brands are prioritizing their most profitable regions, leaving regular shoppers to deal with whatever's left over. I've already heard of major grocery chains overseas completely selling out, and it's only a matter of time before that reality hits here. And if you're into premium or organic coffee, those are the first to go. Specialty roasters can't just swap in beans from somewhere else. Once those sources dry up, there's no easy substitute. So what's the move if coffee's your comfort, your productivity hack, or just your sanity on a rough morning? The smartest thing you can do is to buy a few extra bags of your favorite roast now and store them properly, airtight, away from light and heat. If you use single-serve pods, grab a box or two to keep on hand. Coffee, when stored right, keeps its flavor longer than most people realize, so there's no downside to building a small buffer. And if you want to get really prepared, try out a shelf-stable alternative or even a caffeine substitute. There are blends with chicory or roasted grains that can help stretch your coffee stash or stand in if things get tight. Some folks are even exploring teas or mushroom-based drinks as a backup. It's not about giving up coffee forever. It's about having options if prices spike or shelves go bare. Most people will get blindsided by this, but a little planning right now means you won't have to face those caffeine-free mornings. Think about it. When everyone else is scrambling, you'll be sipping your favorite cup and wondering why more people didn't see it coming. Let's take a closer look at 3 categories you probably don't think of as fragile: seafood, chocolate, and dairy. It's easy to assume there'll always be plenty of fish, a sweet treat after dinner, and milk for your coffee. But right now, all 3 are quietly slipping out of reach for millions of families. First up is seafood, and the news isn't good. Wild salmon numbers in the Pacific have dropped by almost half since last fall. Just as you're planning spring meals, some retailers are already capping purchases to 1 pack per person if they have any stock at all. If you love Atlantic cod, it's not much better. New emergency fishing bans go into effect across Europe in a few weeks, and U.S. importers are scrambling to fill gaps that just keep getting bigger. Shrimp lovers. Southeast Asia's farms are being wrecked by a fast-moving bacterial outbreak, cutting their production by more than half. Those frozen bags that used to be $9 are already pushing $18 if you can find them. The seafood that's still widely available? Farmed tilapia and catfish, and a few U.S. trout operations are doing their best to ramp up. but it won't be enough to offset what's lost. If wild caught is your thing, now's the time to grab it and freeze a few extra fillets. And for a little insurance, keep some canned tuna or salmon on hand. They'll hold you over if the fresh stuff vanishes. Next up, chocolate, a comfort food that's about to become a lot harder to find. West Africa's cocoa fields, where the majority of the world's supply comes from, are being devastated by a nasty fungal disease and stricter labor rules. Nearly half of Ghana's and Ivory Coast's crops are gone, and new regulations mean the affordable brands most people rely on just can't compete with luxury companies for what's left. A box of chocolates you bought for $6 last Valentine's Day could be double or triple by summer, and the cheaper stuff is getting replaced by filler ingredients just to stretch the supply. Big chocolate festivals are even being canceled, and some major makers are quietly reformulating recipes, sneaking in more sugar and less cocoa. If you have a favorite brand, especially those everyday bars and baking chips, it's smart to pick up a few now. Stash them in a cool spot. Chocolate stores just fine for months. If you can, check out local chocolatiers. They sometimes have different supply chains and can hold out a little longer. Finally, let's talk dairy. The old picture of American dairy farms thriving in the heartland is changing fast. Small and medium farms are closing by the week, crushed by skyrocketing feed prices and the cost to keep their operations running. Wisconsin alone has seen several family dairies, some with roots going back to the Great Depression, shutting their doors for good this year. Energy costs are up, profits are way down, and that means fewer options and higher prices at the store. Already, you might notice your favorite yogurt or cheese missing from the cooler, especially if you like organic or European-style brands. Cream cheese, specialty butters, and certain hard cheeses are next in line to disappear or get painfully expensive. The American Dairy Association is reporting a big drop in butter production, down almost 30%, and experts say we could see prices double before summer's over. The best way to ride out these dairy shocks is to adapt now. If you use a lot of butter, buy an extra pound or two and freeze it. Butter holds up well in the freezer and is easy to portion out when you need it. Shelf-stable options like powdered milk or creamers are getting better every year, and some can taste almost identical to the real thing. For families who love yogurt, switching to larger containers or powdered forms can stretch your budget and last longer if the singles go missing. And don't forget about local farmers markets. Smaller producers are feeling the pinch too, but they're often able to keep supplying regulars when the big stores run out. Building relationships with those folks now might be the difference between getting what you need and driving all over town in search of basics. The common thread with all three of these categories is that the shortages are already starting, not just looming in the distance. It's the everyday foods in the middle price range, the stuff that most people rely on for a little variety or comfort, that will vanish first. Stocking up a little at a time, especially on things your household uses most, can soften the blow and keep a few small pleasures in your routine, even as the world gets a little less predictable. Now, let's get into why your fruit bowl and bread basket might look emptier than usual this spring. Imported fruits and grain products are next on the chopping block, and for a lot of us, that's going to hit home more than we realize. Start with imported fruits. Maybe you're used to grabbing bananas for breakfast, berries for your smoothie, or a fresh pineapple just because you can. That easy access to global produce is about to get interrupted in a big way. Shipping issues are piling up. Think congested ports, a shortage of containers, and fuel costs that just keep rising. But there's more. Starting this month, the government is rolling out stricter inspections on produce coming into the U.S., which means longer wait times at customs. By the time fruit actually makes it to the store, it's already lost days of shelf life. Even worse, some countries like Mexico and Ecuador are choosing to sell their best fruit to places paying higher prices, so we're getting less to begin with. I've heard from folks working in grocery distribution that they've seen tropical fruit inventory drop by almost a third in just a few weeks. Some stores are pulling entire fruit sections, and prices on what's left are quietly climbing. That $3 bag of oranges? It might be $5 next month, and you might only see it once in a while. The bigger picture here is that we've built our diets on a global system that works until it doesn't. It's not just about running out of dragon fruit or frozen mango for your yogurt. This situation is exposing how much we rely on year-round imports for nutrition and variety, and how quickly that can change. If there's something your family eats all the time, bananas, apples, or even frozen berries, now's a smart time to pick up a little extra. Frozen fruit is a great option. It lasts for months and is just as nutritious as fresh. If you have space, you can even freeze your own when prices are reasonable. Now, let's talk grains, the backbone of everything from your morning toast to that box of pasta you reach for on busy nights. Three of the world's biggest wheat-producing regions, Ukraine, Australia, and Canada, are all struggling with a mix of drought, disease, and, in Ukraine's case, war. On top of that, key grain mills in the U.S. have slowed production or even shut down temporarily. The ripple effect? Bakeries and food manufacturers are being told to make what's left last, and certain products like specialty breads, imported pasta, and artisan crackers are already getting harder to find. Prices for basics like flour and pasta have shot up. Some shapes are already missing from the shelf entirely. This isn't about running out of food entirely, but it is about seeing the things you count on, day in and day out, suddenly costing a lot more or not being there at all. If you haven't already, start stocking up on shelf-stable grains, bags of rice, pasta, flour, and oats. Don't forget to store them in airtight containers. You'll protect your investment from pests and moisture and keep them fresher, longer. It's also worth learning how to bake with alternative grains like buckwheat or barley, which are less in demand and still available for now. These grains often cook faster and use less water, a bonus if energy or utilities become an issue. All of this boils down to one lesson. Our food system is more fragile than it looks. Taking a little time now to build a buffer of the staples your family relies on could mean the difference between eating what you want and just making do. And if you've never tried baking bread or making a homemade fruit preserve, there's never been a better time to learn. All right, now let's talk about two more grocery categories that most people take for granted: cooking oils and frozen foods. These aren't just pantry staples. For a lot of households, they're essentials you can't cook or eat the way you want without. But this year, both are set to become rare finds in stores for reasons most of us never saw coming. Cooking oils are quietly disappearing faster than almost any other food product. It's not just olive oil. Avocado, sesame, walnut, and grapeseed oils are all getting squeezed by extreme weather, crop diseases, and supply chain bottlenecks. Mexico's avocado crops are down dramatically, and California just can't pick up the slack. India's sesame oil production has stalled because of contamination scares, shutting down some of their biggest processors. Grapeseed oil, which used to be a byproduct of the wine industry, is now in short supply as winemakers deal with labor shortages and climate problems. Even walnut oil is tough to find because of disease sweeping through orchards in the West. Retailers and restaurants are already limiting purchases, and prices have shot up. If you see a bottle at a decent price, that's almost a win right now. But there's good news. You've got alternatives. Sunflower oil is still widely available, and it's great for high-heat cooking. Rice bran oil is another solid choice. Affordable, long shelf life, and it's loaded with antioxidants. And don't count out the old-school options. Lard and tallow, once considered relics, are now being praised by nutritionists for their stability and availability. Coconut oil is another smart pick. Its shelf life is long, and the flavor works in both sweet and savory dishes. The trick is to get creative and flexible. If you rely on specialty oils for a specific diet or health need, stock up now or try branching out to new options before the rest of the crowd catches on. Now, about frozen foods, there's a quiet storm building here too, and most folks aren't prepared for it. Major chains like Walmart and Kroger are actually reducing freezer space to save on energy costs, which means less room for your favorite frozen veggies, fruits, and ready meals. But that's just the start. Some of the biggest frozen food factories in the Midwest have been shut down for weeks because of equipment shortages and shipping delays. Replacement parts are stuck overseas, so the lines just aren't running. The first casualties? Frozen vegetables and meal blends. Popular brands are cutting up to half their product lines just to keep up with what little supply they can get. Frozen pizzas, those weeknight lifesavers, are also getting scarce. Cheese shortages are making production costs skyrocket, and companies are cutting back to their best sellers only. If you have kids, you've probably already seen fewer options for things like chicken nuggets and fish sticks. Some big meat producers are focusing on fresh products instead, which means less goes into the freezer section for the rest of us. So, what can you do? First, think about what your family really uses and pick up a little extra the next time you shop. Frozen veggies can last up to a year and are just as nutritious as fresh, sometimes more. Same goes for fruit. Frozen berries are a great backup when imports dry up. If there's a ready meal your family loves, toss a few in the back of the freezer now, before prices and shortages get worse. If you're running out of freezer space, consider reorganizing or getting a small chest freezer to help ride out the storm. The real takeaway is this: we're seeing a new era of food scarcity, and it's not just about what's trendy or exotic. These are the basics, the don't think twice groceries that make everyday life easier. By keeping your pantry and freezer stocked with versatile oils and a reasonable supply of frozen foods, you'll be ready for whatever comes, and you won't be the one scrambling when everyone else is staring at empty shelves. Now let's get real about the last grocery item on the list: canned goods. For decades, they've been the quiet backbone of every American pantry, from quick dinners to emergency meals. But what most folks don't realize is that canned foods are facing a supply crunch like never before, and it's coming from all sides. The U.S. recently slapped a big tariff on imported aluminum and steel, making it more expensive and harder to source the metal needed for canning. On top of that, labor shortages and rising fuel costs are creating bottlenecks every step of the way, from factories to delivery trucks to your local store. If you live outside a big city, you'll probably notice it first. Smaller grocery chains and rural markets get deliveries less often. So when shelves empty out, it can be weeks before they're restocked, if they even get another shipment at all. The canned staples we all count on: green beans, corn, carrots, peas, soups, chili, tuna, salmon, evaporated milk, are seeing prices tick up fast, and some varieties are missing from the shelf for weeks at a time. The latest numbers show that in some areas, canned vegetables alone are already up 15% just since February. And the closer we get to May, the more those price hikes and shortages are expected to spread. This isn't just an inconvenience. For a lot of families, canned food is a lifeline, especially when budgets are tight or fresh groceries are hard to get. If you've got a go-to canned item your family relies on, now's the time to quietly buy a few extra cans every week. Don't panic buy or clear the shelf. Just gradually build up a little stock so you're not caught off guard. And if you're worried about storage, here's a tip. Use airtight bins or stackable shelves to keep things organized. And always check for dents or bulges before using anything that's been sitting a while. Another smart move? Learn some basic canning skills. If you have access to fresh produce in the summer or a local farmer's market, preserving your own fruits and veggies can be a game changer when store shelves run dry. Plus, you'll know exactly what's in your food, and you can adjust recipes to your family's taste. And don't forget, the best time to shop is often early in the week, especially Tuesday or Wednesday mornings, when stores have just restocked and the aisles are quieter. If you're storing grains and flour, airtight containers will keep things fresher longer, and a little bit of rotation, using the oldest first, goes a long way in avoiding waste. Ultimately, the key is being smart, not scared. Focus on what your family actually eats. There's no point in filling the pantry with stuff you'll never use. If you plan ahead and stay flexible, you'll be able to handle what's coming without stress or panic. Remember, these changes are coming fast, but small steps now can save you a lot of trouble later. Think about it as buying yourself peace of mind, one can at a time. So here we are, staring down a year, that's bringing more change to our grocery aisles than most of us have ever seen. Just to recap, the 10 items most likely to disappear before May 2025 are olive oil, coffee, seafood, chocolate, dairy, imported fruits, certain grains, cooking oils, frozen foods, and canned goods. It sounds overwhelming, but the truth is, people have always found a way to adapt and make it work, no matter what's happening in the world. The important thing is to stay steady, not scared. Instead of scrambling with everyone else when the news finally catches up, you can take a few simple steps now. Buy a little extra of what you really use, learn to store it right, and try out some alternatives or new recipes if you need to. If you're worried about missing something, reach out to your local farmers, support small businesses, and share ideas with friends or family who are prepping too. There's a lot of power in community, and a little creativity goes a long way when things get unpredictable. Just remember, preparedness is about having options, not hoarding or panicking. Stock up gradually, use what you have, and keep an eye out for changes at your local store. If you found this info helpful, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next update. And drop a comment with your own prepping strategy or any tips that work for you. Your idea might be just what someone else needs to hear. Stay safe, stay resourceful, and tune in next week for real-world gardening hacks to help keep fresh food on your table, no matter what comes next.